Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Estonia once again for the first time in what feels like a good little while, and I'm actually very happy that I'm able to review this beer for you on the channel at the moment, because at the end of this month, July 2020, I'll be travelling to Estonia for about 11 days. My exact dates for Estonia are the 31st of July until the 10th of August. I'm going over there to see my good friend Einar, one of my old chemistry friends from Aberdeen University back in Scotland. He's getting married to his lovely fiancée, so going over there for the wedding, doing a few things with him and stuff like that. But I also plan to go around and explore a little bit. I'll be going down to Tartu, and I'll also be going across to Pärnu, I think, as well, but spending a good chunk of time in Tallinn as well, where he's from. But yeah, really looking forward to that. As part of that trip, of course, I will do a little bit of out and about filming. I'm going to see if I can manage to get some breweries to give me some Meet the Brewery segments as well, and of course I will pick up some Estonian craft beers to bring back to Sweden with me and review for you here on the channel. So if you are watching from Estonia, please do give me some brewery and beer recommendations in the comments section below. Bar recommendations, of course, are very welcome as well. And if you would like to meet up for a beer or something and, you know, talk a little bit about the Estonian craft beer scene and stuff like that, that would be pretty awesome. Very, very open to doing things like that. I had a really great time when I was in Estonia last time in 2013, so very much looking forward to going back there. So we'd love to meet up with some of you guys that are watching the channel over in Estonia, because I know there are a couple of you over there. That would be awesome to meet up with you guys. But yeah, for this review then, we are going to go back to the second city in Estonia, Tartu, in the southeast of the country, and we're going to return to a brewery that you've seen me review a couple of beers from already. For this one then, we are going to go to Pühaste Pruulikoda, and we're going to have a look at the Black Blood today. So this one is a 10.5% Imperial Stout, and apparently they've added beetroot to the beer here. So very, very curious to see how this one turns out. This is beer review number 6 or so from Puhäste, if I remember correctly. We do get their beers regularly through the Tillfällig assortment over here in Sweden, along with a good number of things from Imperial as well, who are of course based in the capital city, Tallinn. Those are probably the two best known Estonian craft breweries on the continent actually. There are other breweries that I know of, like Untappd, I think Sori are based in Estonia, but it's Finnish guys that own that, and there's also Pühaste Pruulikoda as well. I think those are the 4 that I've reviewed for you on the channel so far. When I was there back in 2013, of course, it was, you know, the Alacoque and the other macro beers, really the Sakus and things like that that were prominent on the market. But of course the craft beer scene has just exploded in Estonia since then, so there's a great selection of beer over there, and I do look forward to trying a bit more of it at the end of the month and at the start of August, of course. So yeah, always cool to return to Puhäste. I've had some very, very good beers from these guys in the past, ranging from IPAs to Imperial Porters and stuff, and I think this might be the first one I've had that they've added adjuncts into, if I remember correctly. So yeah, very, very curious to see how this one turns out. I think this is the first beer that I've had with beetroot added into it, so it should be very interesting, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So let's see how we get on. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Pühaste Pruulikoda before. No doubt you will see some more from these guys at some point in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for the Estonian beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. Not as regularly as I would like, of course. I would love to review Estonian beer a lot more regularly, because it is bloody good. But yeah, as always, please do feel free to get in touch with me and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Pühaste Pruulikoda then, on to my brewery notes. And I do apologise for any bad Estonian pronunciations in this video. Estonian, of course, is one of the Uric languages along with Finnish and Hungarian, so it's notoriously difficult both grammatically and pronunciation wise as well, from what I've heard. But yeah, Pühaste Pruulikoda, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Tartu in the southeastern part of Estonia, the second city, home to the oldest university, of course, as well. But the company was founded back in 2016 by Eero Mander, Lauri Aidaman and Ular Kaljurund. So Lauri comes from a background in IT, while Ular is is a businessman that specialised in restaurants and bars, and Eero apparently was a home brewer for a number of years, starting back in 2011 when he brewed at his summer house in Puhäste. He released his first beers commercially back in 2014 under the name Blessed Virgin, and they proved to be very, very popular, and of course that formed the kind of roots, if you like, of the Puhäste company. So they started out as a gypsy brewery, and they brewed at various other breweries around Estonia before they decided in 2015 to start up their own physical brewery. So they opened this brewery in September of 2016, which can be found on Tehe Street in the southeastern part of the city, and they've already had to expand their fermentation capacity due to the high demand for their beers, and they're now brewing in the region of 3,500 hectolitres of beer per year. They may have scaled that up since then. I think I've had these notes since around 2018 or so I wouldn't be surprised if that number is inaccurate. But they also have the Kelder bar in the city as well, and they've got a tap room at the actual brewery as well that you can go and visit. So hopefully I can get down to the brewery and do a little bit of an out and about film there for you, and try some of their beers on tap and things like that. I would love to get these guys along for a Meet the Brewery segment as well. That would be awesome. So I'll need to drop them an email and see if that's possible, but it would be cool to have an interview on the channel with these guys and talk about both the brewery and the Estonian craft beer scene. But as of July 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 150 different kinds of beer, and as I told you towards the start of the video, these guys are probably one of the better known Estonian craft breweries, along with the likes of Pühaste and probably Sorry as well. Those three are probably the best known ones outside of Estonia, although like that said, I have seen Pühaste Pruulikoda before, and also Untappd. Those are probably the other two that are about the same kind of things. I'm not sure how widely distributed the Estonian beers are in other countries, but in here in Sweden we get a lot of Puhäste, and we also get a lot of Pühaste as well. You know, Pühaste are big across the world. I've seen Pühaste over in Korea actually, and I've also seen them at my beer dealer over in Japan as well. So Pühaste are by far and away the best known Estonian craft brewery these days, and they do some very, very interesting stuff. But I think Puhäste aren't too far behind them at the moment. So yeah, very, very good brewery in my experience. Always cool to review different things from them on the channel here. And yeah, hopefully, as I say, I can get down and visit them in Tartu and film a little Meet the Brewery segment for you. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Pühaste Pruulikoda for the moment. Hopefully we can review a few more of their beers at some point in the future, but for the moment, if you want to learn more about this brewery, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all those 150 different beers that they've done. That's a pretty impressive rate of turnaround, if you like, when you consider that this brewery is only really about 5 years old actually, so that's pretty damn impressive. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. As you can see, this one, you can see the guy with his hunting dog, the matador with the bull head. So yeah, this one I think is really it's pretty random actually. Some of the artwork that you get on these beers from Puhäste is pretty impressive. I think the best beer that I've had from these guys so far was probably the Trinity in Black that was brewed with Zagovor and AF Brew from Moscow and St. Petersburg respectively in Russia. That was a really nice one, but you know, anything you get from Puhäste tends to be really good. I've had the Mari Berliner Weiss, I remember, was very nice, and I've had a couple of IPAs from these guys that have turned out really nicely as well. But there you can see, well, probably better to show you this, but actually there you can see the Puhäste writing there. That is the symbol of the brewery, and it says on the side here, this one is Imperial Stout brewed with beetroot juice. So yeah, Pedi Mahalaga Pruulitud Imperial Stout, it says in Estonian. Probably butchered that pronunciation, but yeah, 10.5% ABV this one. There is the Puhäste bottle cap on this beer, which is the same as the other ones that you're going to come across. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Very, very curious to see how this turns out. An Imperial Stout with beetroot juice. I think I told you at the start of the video that this one had beetroot in it, so I apologise for lying to you and saying it was beetroots rather than beetroot juice, so I hope you will forgive me for that one. And when you open this beer up, it actually comes across as really sweet and fruity. That's the first thing you'll notice when you open up the bottle here. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. You can definitely see a little bit of that reddish tinge to this. Look at the colour of that head. That's a bit crazy. Look at that. That's impressive actually. Yeah, I've had some stouts with some really interesting stuff added to them. It's amazing how, even for such a dark beer, you know, if you put blueberries and raspberries and all these kind of things in stouts, it really can affect the colour of the head actually. That's how you really notice, and you can really see a big tint to these beers as well. So I mean, I don't even know how you would describe the colour of that head. It's like a very reddish beige, you know, it's a very kind of reddish tan sort of colour actually. Really not sure how you would how you would describe that. If we shine the light through this beer, it's pretty much, it looks as black as night, but there is a definite kind of like a definite sort of very dark chestnutty kind of tint to it. You could see that when I was pouring it. The tint that this beer has was pretty impressive. It had a really dark, as I say, sort of chestnutty coloured tint to it. It looked very, very nice, I have to say. But yeah, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass. There's a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. You could see that this head was about 2/3 of a finger when we poured it, and it is just starting to fade away a little bit, and it will gradually just dissipate and become a very, very thin foamy layer, of course. But yeah, really, really curious to see how this turns out. I think this is going to be a very, very quirky beer actually, and you know, that seems to be something that's a bit of, you know, I don't know if that comes from, you know, old brewing culture in Estonia, but they seem to be really into adding adjuncts and things into their beers over there, because you know, Pühaste were the ones that really started that off. You know, Puhäste are doing it as well, and I think there are a few other breweries from what I've heard do it as well. So you know, I don't know if that's something they've taken from old Estonian, old Baltic brewing culture. I know there's beers and stuff that are from fermented bread and all sorts of other things in the likes of like Lithuania and stuff like that. But yeah, you've got kvass as well as the other thing that kind of originates from that part of Europe. So yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, this one I think should be really interesting. Let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we go. And as I said, when you open up the bottle, it comes across as really quite sweet and fruity. But let's see how we get on with looking at the actual beer. Oh, yeah, this one's really interesting. You know, so this beer's almost in, it's really interesting how that goes together. It comes across as really like, can you say fibrous? You know, it smells like some of these beers that you have tonka beans in, it has the same sort of vibe as that. It's almost like beans. You know, the beetroot is given, the sort of beetroot juice is giving the beer a real vibe of, you know, kind of that sort of beany, fibery type quality, because you can get the stouty things underneath that on first impression, but it really has a bit of that kind of fibery, like if you think about the texture of baked beans when you eat those, or any kind of beans, kidney beans, chickpeas, whatever, you know, it really, the aroma that you get out of this really reminds me of the taste of, or the kind of texture, if you like, of those types of foods. It really has that sort of fibery, that sort of fibrous food type quality to it in the aroma here. So, and it's amazing how you can pick that up on the aroma actually. But yeah, underneath that, of course, you do get a little bit of the typical roasty black malt that you would expect of an Imperial Stout. It almost has like a kind of well-fired bread crusty quality. I wouldn't be surprised if this beer is using like some kind of combination of special bee malt and you know, carafa, because it really has that you know, that sort of bread crusty, well-fired brown bready type quality to it. So I really like how that how that goes together in this one. I like everything about that, to be honest with you. I really like it. So yeah, the aroma coming out of this one I think is very, very nice. Yeah, this is a very, very nice beer, I have to say. So yeah, the aroma there, as I say, roasty black malt base, some kind of bread crusty, sort of well-fired bread crusty notes on top of that. As I say, I think there might be a bit of carafa or something in here, but then you get that sort of fibrousy, beany, chickpea, black beany type quality. You can really smell that coming out of this one too. That really smoothens out the black malts, if you like. I think it would be a lot harsher, this beer, on the aroma, if it wasn't for the kind of beetrooty thing. That flavour, that kind of aroma that I'm talking about is obviously a product of the kind of beetroot juice, I think. But yeah, I had a beer from Northern Exposure Brewing near Stockholm that had red beets in it. So I think it might be quite similar to that in some sense. Although the fact that I think they put actual beets in it, not just the beet juice. So we'll see how it turns out. But like I say, there is a bit of a chocolatey note to this one, but again that's quite subdued because of the kind of fibrous-y type aroma that you get out of this one. There is maybe a little touch of a caramelly brown sugar, quite a toasty one at that, coming out of this too. But the dominant component of the aroma, like I say, is that sort of fibrous-y note, and you can get the kind of brown, the sort of brown bread, well-fired bread crusty and black malty notes just kind of underpinning it. There's a few woody elements to it, and there's maybe one or two little kind of slight nutty aromas in there as well. But the malt base of this, I think, will be pretty damn interesting. On the hoppy side of things, you've got a little touch of earthiness, which is what you'd expect, a little bit of floral character and also a little bit of grassiness in there, and there's some really interesting fruity notes to this one, and I'm not sure whether how much of that is coming from the hops and how much of it's coming from the beet juice, because I would expect that, you know, the kind of beetroot juice will give it a little bit of fruitiness as well, to be honest with you. It will give you some of these kind of fruity esters. So on the fruity side of things then, to me there's a wee bit of a slightly raisiny sharpness to this one. There are some juicy kind of plummy notes as well. So yeah, a bit of raisin sharpness, bit of plums, and maybe there's a little bit of a blackcurranty, blackberry-ish quality to this beer as well. But I think the beetroot juice is giving the fruity side of things a little bit more sharpness than it would have otherwise. I think the juicier fruits like the berries and the blackberries and, you know, the kind of plummy notes out of it, I think those are coming from the hops themselves. I would suspect the hops in this one are probably something along the lines of like Williamette, or it could be Eureka would be another one, or maybe it could be a little bit of Bramling's Cross or something like that from England. I don't think Northern Brewer in this one, to be honest with you. It doesn't seem figgy enough, to be honest. But yeah, I think there's sort of more raisiny, sharper type notes in this are coming from the beetroot juice. I have to admit, I don't eat beetroot. That's the interesting thing about this one. So I'm curious to see how it comes out in the beer here. I don't know how common a food that actually is in Estonia. I don't know. I know they eat a lot of potato. I remember Einar telling me, yeah, they eat a lot of bread and potatoes. That's the kind of Baltic diet. I think a good bit of, I'm not sure how much sausage and things like that they eat, but yeah, bread and potatoes was the main staple diet in Estonia, from what Einar was telling me. But yeah, a really interesting smelling beer, this one. It does have the same sort of vibe to it as some of these tonka bean beers that you're going to get, but of course the aroma from the beets is quite a bit different from those. But yeah, I think I've described that fairly well. But yeah, as I say, not something you're going to find too often in beers. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. The Black Blood, a 10.5% Imperial Stout with beetroot juice added to it from Pühaste Pruulikoda in Tartu, the second city in the southeastern part of Estonia. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål, terviseks. Really curious about this. Pretty nice, I have to say. I think I'm getting this one just at the right temperature as well. What I would say about this one is the beets, they are contributing a little bit to the flavour, but to me, on first impression, it seems that they're more playing a role with the mouthfeel. They're really giving you that very smooth, they're really kind of smoothing out the mouthfeel quite a bit rather than anything else. So that's a really interesting point to make about this one. Yeah, I'll stick with that. It's also adding just a little bit of sharpness, I think, on the front end of the beer as well. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say this stout is not markedly different from, you know, a kind of regular Imperial Stout, to be honest with you. I think the beets in this case seem to be a very sort of subtle addition to the flavour. And it's interesting when I think about this, because the beer that I mentioned earlier from Northern Exposure Brewing Company, it was called Oh Dear, if I remember correctly. It was like it was supposed to be a red IPA with beets added to it, and it just, to me, it just didn't work. You know, those guys are a very capable brewery, but honestly, that beer I just thought was not great in my mind. But yeah, this one, I think the stout, I think a lot of that was due to the style that they chose to do that with. If they'd done it with a stout or a porter or something with the darker flavours, I think it would have worked out a hell of a lot better. And I think the stout, an Imperial Stout, is a beer that has enough strong flavours of its own that the beets can be a little bit more, the beetroot juice can be more of a subtlety rather than taking the front or taking the fore in the beer. And that's one of the great things about the Imperial Stout. You can add a lot to it and get lots of different subtleties out of it without them kind of dominating the beer. And yeah, I think it works out really nicely in this one. This does get a thumbs up from me. It's quite a quirky Imperial Stout, like I said, but it's not madly different from, you know, a regular Imperial Stout, to be honest with you. But yeah, I like how that, I do like how this one goes together. Thumbs up to Puhäste for this one. Another really solid beer from these guys, and that's what I've come to expect from them over, you know, the 6 or 7 beer reviews that we've done from them now. But yeah, let's try and break down the flavour of this one then and just see how we get on. So in the back third of your palate, you've got, I think, forming the whole kind of base of the beer between the middle third of your palate and the back third of your palate, you've got a really roasty, toasty, black malty character in there. On top of that, I think you've got some element of like the carafa type malt, you know, that well-fired bread crusty quality. That kind of sits on top of the more roasty black malts there. But in the back third of your tongue, it does become markedly more dry and toasty, if that makes sense. I think that really comes out of this one. But yeah, I really like how that goes together. That forms a really nice base to the beer. But yeah, the sort of beety type quality that you get out of this one, I do find that this beer, like I was describing in the aroma, it really has that sort of fibery, kind of almost beanie type texture to it. You can feel that sitting on top of the kind of bready notes in the middle of the palate too, and it does spread back a little bit towards the back, the rear third of the tongue, if you like, but I think at the very, very back of the tongue, it's the roasty black malts and some of that well-fired bread crusty quality that's coming out of this one. You do have a bit of a kind of really toasty dark chocolate note to this one. You can feel that in the middle of the palate, and then as you go right into the centre of the tongue, there's a nice little bit of a kind of darker brown sugar quality to this one. So yeah, there is a bit of that well-fired brown sugar in there as well, kind of sitting on top of the chocolate. There is a wee touch of sweetness to it right in the centre of the palate, but yeah, I think it is like quite a dark 80% cocoa chocolate, like quite a bitter chocolate there that's sitting on that. You've almost got like a little island in the middle of your palate there, and then you've got some nice kind of brown sugary elements in there. So yeah, I do like how that kind of goes together in this one. So on the front corners of the palate, if you go to the front corners of your palate then kind of go diagonally back, you will get a few sort of very slight woody undertones to the beer. There's not really a nutty element to this one. Sometimes if you go to the centre of your palate and move forward, you will notice a wee bit of a kind of woody undertone. But again, this beer, as you move towards the front of that middle third of your tongue, it does get notably more kind of roasty and toasty again. It's almost like the bread crusty notes come out just on the border between the front third of the tongue and the middle third of your tongue. It does get a little bit distinctively more bread crusty and thick, if you like. So yeah, on the in the back corners of the palate, there's a nice little bit of earthiness in there. It's quite a dark earthiness as well. Could there be a little bit of English hop in here? I don't know. I mean, some of the American hops can give you quite a dark earthiness as well, but that builds a good bridge between the roasty, black malty elements and the bread crusty qualities at the back of the palate too. That does build a good bridge there. But as you come further forward, the earthiness just kind of smoothens out a little bit. There's some nice floral aromaticity there as you come further forward on the tongue, but again, I think this beer, does it say when it was bottled? I think most of the hops, it says best before the 15th of June 2022. It could have been fairly recently bottled, this, in fairness. Maybe it's been bottled on the 15th of June this month and then just sent straight across. Although it does to me, it strikes me as having been bottled a little bit before that. Quite a bit of the hoppy character, I think, has dropped off, other than the earthiness, in fairness. But yeah, I think that a good bit. I think you would get a little bit more floral quality out of this one if it had been bottled. It could have been bottled, maybe they're recommending 3 years in the bottle for this. Speculating, of course, don't know for certain. But yeah, you do get a little touch of floral aromaticity on the front corners of the palate, and as you go round the front curve of the tongue, you've got a little bit of that lighter, grassy kind of thing coming out of the beer too, which is very nice. But yeah, I like how this goes together. Around the very front curve of the palate, like I say, you do get some of that. You get a little bit of that kind of lighter grassy thing, like I say. But the front third of your palate, that's where you always get those nice kind of juicy, fruity esters coming out of the beer, and the beet juice in this is affecting that quite a little bit. So when you take this beer in, on the front of the palate, just right behind the front curve of the tongue, you will get a little bit of this sharp kind of almost raisiny quality out of the beer. So yeah, there is a little bit of that there. And you do get a little bit of that around the kind of front edge of the tongue. It's quite interesting what that actually adds to the beer. But yeah, if you go towards the back of that front third of the palate, you will get a little bit of a, you do get a little bit of a kind of plummy note out of it. There is a little bit of a kind of raisiny sharpness there as well that lingers, and not from the beets, as I was saying. But yeah, as you move further forward on the palate, it juicens up a little bit. You get a sort of figgy quality to it. Then as you reach the very front part of the palate, it's got a little bit more of a kind of blackcurranty, blackberry type thing to it. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, this one. As I say, the beets, I think they are more of a subtlety. You get, the further you go into the aftertaste, you can feel that sort of fibery type texture that lingers there into the aftertaste, along with some of the black malts and the bread crusty notes that I was talking about. That lingers there as well, and you do get a wee bit of the kind of fruitiness, I guess, which is coming from the beet juice as well. So the beets are almost adding just a little bit more kind of complexity and subtlety to the beer, rather than taking the forefront, or taking the, you know, grabbing the bull by the horns, if you like, and showing a few different things. But yeah, I like how this one goes together. It's one of these beers where the adjunct is really just adding another kind of subtlety to the beer, and it's about how the flavours kind of blend together actually. But overall, as an Imperial Stout, I'd say it's quite a smooth one. It's not the roastiest and toastiest of Imperial Stouts that you're going to come across, but it is pretty damn nice, I have to say. So again, thumbs up to Puhäste for another very, very nice Imperial Stout. So yeah, on the mouthfeel side of things, yeah, pretty full bodied, bottom end of full bodied though for me. The carbonation is very smooth. The beer does have an element of oiliness to it, in fairness, which I like too. In terms of bitterness, I think, you know, this one is about a 60 IBU beer, maybe 70, something like that. In the middle of the palate, as I say, it's quite on the malty side of things. It's got a good bit of roastiness there, but then on top of that, you get the more fibrous things just balancing out the bitterness there. I think, you know, if this, it could be even, you know, it could be a little bit higher. Does it say? I'm sure it said. It says it's 55 IBUs. I thought it would have been a little bit more with the 70, but I guess, yeah, that makes sense, because the you know, the sort of fibrous type flavours, if you like, from the beets are, you know, just smoothing that whole thing out a little bit. So yeah, 55 IBUs kind of makes sense. Like, I thought, yeah, 60, 70 IBUs out of this one. If it didn't have the beets, it would probably be a little bit more bitter than that, I would think. But yeah, nice smooth malt base in there. Not a lot of sweetness to this one, more kind of smooth and roasty towards the back of the palate, like I said. There's a good wee bit of hoppy quality to this one, a bit earthy, a bit grassy, like I said, and you've got some nice kind of fruity characters coming from this one. A little bit of sharpness from the beet juice, like I say, but a few juicy notes from the hops as well. Like I say, it could be a little bit of, it could be a wee bit of Bramlin's Cross from England, which would explain some of the earthiness that you get out of this one. It could be Eureka, it could be Williamette, Summit. I think I remember Summit being quite a popular hop to use for Imperial Stouts as well. It could even be Northern Brewer from Germany, which is popular in Doppelbocks, who knows. Not sure what hops they've used in this one. It could even be something simple like, you know, Chinook can give you some of these lovely dark fruity flavours as well if you use it properly, and that would maybe explain a bit of the floral character in this one as well, in fairness. So yeah, really interesting beer, this one, I have to say. A lot to think about from it. Something a little bit quirky, but you know, this is a very, very capable brewery in my experience, so I'm not surprised they've produced something pretty nice. So yeah, definitely cool to have another Estonian beer review for you here, and you know, always nice to try something different from Puhäste, of course, as well. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Puhäste as well. Like I said at the start of the video, I will be going to Estonia from the 31st of July 2020 until the 10th of August. I will be doing a little bit of out and about filming and picking up some other Estonian beers, so do get your recommendations of things in the comment section below. But for this one, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Until the next time, Slange just now, I will catch you guys later. Tervisex, Skull, all of these kind of things. Make sure you check out Puhäste, make sure you check out some of the other Estonian breweries as well, because there is a great thriving beer scene over there. Slange, Skull, Tervisex, and I'll catch you guys later. Nice beer, this one. Tervisex.